Hello everybody, we just finished watching Chainsaw Man episode 12, the finale here of season 1. And because of that, we are going to talk about it. I'm not alone here, we have Jaden.
My suffering is finally going to end.
Hey, just wait till season 2 comes out.
It's going to be at least maybe a couple years.
You think?
Unless MAPPA really cranks down, which knowing them they will. But I would bet probably around early 2024.
I think it's going to be later in 2023. Like late 2023, like maybe fall season again, if not summer. Because I know Bleach, which just had its first season of the new arc. Part 2 is coming out in, summer season, I think.
Yeah, I know they were able to crank out Attack on Titan very fast. Because they did 12 episodes in 2020, then 12 more episodes in 2021. But they haven't had anything at all this year.
Wow.
So, who knows?
Okay, so this episode, like I said, is the final episode of Season 1 here. And I say, me and Jaden, if you listen to the spoiler section in last episode, me and Jaden both called the ending of this episode.
We predicted this ending to the T.
Exactly. I predicted where it would stop going through with the manga, and Jaden predicted the after-credit scene.
Yeah, I knew there'd be a post-credit scene. There had to be.
But we'll get into it. So this episode is titled Katana vs. Chainsaw. It's like they can't make up what his name is. Is it Katana Devil? Samurai Sword? I don't know.
Who knows?
And this episode covers chapters, 35.4 to 38.8 of the manga, which rounds out to about 3.5 chapters, which is what this has been doing mostly.
So, I think this is interesting because this shows that they're most likely going to make Chainsaw Man 36 episodes.
3 parts, yes.
Yeah. I think that'll be, which is funny, considering if you, for instance, take the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, is typically 36 to 38 episodes apart and covers about 200 chapters.
But also JoJo's is, like Bleach back in the day, it was covering 5 chapters an episode.
Yeah.
Right, just because Bleach has such an incredibly fast pace. And there's chapters in Bleach where, like, there's just fighting and maybe 2 words uttered at the end.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant 2-page spreads. So with that in accordance, Chainsaw Man is not a deeper series in a way, but it's got more to it in some parts.
There's more substance in each chapter. Yeah.
So, but if we really think about it and we break it down, Chainsaw Man has about 97 chapters here for the first part of the series of the manga. And if we take out the first one, that would leave us with 35 episodes to do about 96 chapters.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they'll, as the series goes on, they'll adapt some of the more important chapters a little bit slower, at a slower pace.
And also, but we also forget that they completely skipped out on the Muscle Devil fight earlier in the season, too. Right? Again, that's a change that I think is alright. It's worthy of being changed.
I mean, I didn't even notice that it was changed.
Yeah, I mean, they did a really good job of just scraping it together more and more, which is interesting. With that, I'd say we just need to get straight into it. Last time, Aki was getting choked out by the Ghost Devil.
Yep.
Right? And this time we cut back to Aki and Ghost doing the things, and Aki's getting choked out as he remembers back to whenever Himeno was trying to get him to smoke. Right? She's like, hey, just take one. And Aki's feeling like, I'll do it. I can't believe you're making a minor smoke. Right?
I'm glad she draws the line at smoking. That's really got some good morals, Himeno.
I like that every time Himeno tries to do something, it's always, hey, I'm a minor, you know
I'm
that.
a kid, dude.
I'm under, what's the legal age of consent there?
I believe it's 20.
20?
Yeah.
Huh, I thought it was 16 for some reason. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm American. I ain't
we ain't got no time for
Japanese.
that.
So pretty much Himeno's like, all right, hand it over. I'll give this to you once you've gotten a crippling addiction. So I guess Aki works in a trade, because that's all. No, it's the only thing that all tradesmen have is crippling nicotine addictions.
Yep.
Right. And we then cut to Aki during this fight here. He's on the ground with the Ghost Devil above him, right? We see all of the Ghost Devil's limbs all around, and we see that the Ghost Devil holds out a fist to Aki, right? And whenever it opens up, there is a single cigarette in the fist, and the cigarette has written on it, "Easy Revenge."
I'm surprised that they didn't write this in Japanese, because the characters are Japanese.
In the manga, it says easy revenge.
But yeah, I know that. But a lot of times in the manga, like, translators will erase out Japanese lettering and write in English.
We saw how those notes were done with Aki early in the season, with the Nexus appearing in the corner, right? But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I don't know if we were to go pick up a Japanese copy of Chainsaw Man, if it's written.
I'm sure it'd be in English.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, right? And we sort of get this idea now as Aki gets a cigarette. There's this narration that plays, and he's like, Helmeno once told me that the Ghost Devil doesn't have any eyes. It uses fear to see everything around it, right?
I thought that was a pretty cool mechanic.
And Aki is now, he's not afraid anymore. So he just gets up, walks onto the Ghost Devil, and beheads the motherfucker. Just chops its head off as Satoari's just like, oh shit.
I thought that was a pretty cool visual.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting thing of like how much it said, like, Hilmeno said this is how the Ghost Devil works. And it works to Aki's advantage here.
Yeah.
Right? And we don't really have a reliance on the future Devil either, which is a very interesting thing in this fight. Right? And as he steps down and walks away, he says, Hilmeno, I'll be with you soon. Because we know Aki ain't got long to live.
He ain't got much longer.
At this point, the opening, Tick Back by Kinchi Yonzu.
I'm surprised it didn't do some kind of variation for this one. I thought they would have.
Well, I think the variation is the endings.
Yeah.
So, bit different thing there. Yeah, so being this is presumably the last time that we will hear Kickback. Well, I mean, like, I know that most first openings for animes are very important, right? And they'll stay throughout the series.
I'm sure it'll pop up in, like, the last episode for some reason.
Yeah. Like, or I can think of a few things later on, in the latter part of the manga where Chainsaw Man comes.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where that happens, and I'm sure this can be played over there, right? Yeah, but being this is most likely in the Kickback, next time I promise I'll get the author right first try and not wait it for 9 episodes.
All right.
I'm sorry, Kinjiro Suda. Right? Mr. Kishibe voice actor. So at this point, we see that Satoari is like, oh no, Aki just killed this thing, what am I going to do? As she gets a knife held up to her neck as Kobeni comes from behind her, and Aki's like, don't kill her, it's fine. And Aki asks Kobeni, hey, why did you stay with public safety? And Kobeni just gives the answer of, the bonuses are coming pretty soon.
Bonuses.
Right? At this point, we cut away from everything that's going on there, and we get to Power and Denji. Power and Denji are just going up the elevator, talking, right? They're stopping by every floor, and they stop on the 7th floor, right? And the door opens up, and there's a zombie army there, right? And Power pretty much leaps out and is like, come on, Denji, I know you'll have my back. We're gonna murder these guys.
He just leaves.
As Power just goes in there, and there's fighting, and Denji just goes, pushes the button, and just continues his way up, right? As Denji's in the elevator, he's just like thinking, she's crazy, right? But he gets to the, I forget what it was, 10th, 11th floor?
Somewhere around there.
Right? And it opens up, and Katana Man, Samurai Sword, he's there, or as Denji calls him, found you, Sideburns Man, right? As he goes to start pulling his rib cage, and Katana's just like, hey, I'll let you live. You just need to atone for your sins, right? You killed my granddad. Are you sorry for that? Right? And Denji's like, they were zombies. I don't feel bad for killing them, right? And again, Samurai Sword's like, well, I still feel bad every time I kill somebody. Guess it's just because I have a heart.
Yeah.
Right? And another thing to where is Denji's heart still his, right? Or the way that he sees it, right? And Denji's like, no, I don't. Not at all. And then we get to Katana versus Chainsaw. Right? Yes. Oh, we'll get into it.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation about this. So, Katana takes off his hand, becomes Katana Man, and Denji pulls his ripcord, becomes Chainsaw Man, as, they fight. And they're fighting on the roofs of all of these buildings and everything, and, Chainsaw Man is definitely getting overpowered by Katana, right? It's just, like, really not going in Denji's favor here, right? Eventually, they get onto a train. Now, what do we think about this train? Because it did look...
Are you talking about how it looks?
The entire part of it.
This entire fight was fought in a CG set.
Yes.
All of it. And it looks rough, man.
It does look rough, but really when I'm thinking about it, is there any other way they could have done that train fluidly? Because I really don't think there is without re-looping the same exact background and having the train not move at all, like it did.
I feel like
And that's the really hard middle ground we've got to think about with this series.
I don't know, man. I feel like there's something they could have done. They probably could have easily got away with 2D backgrounds and a CG train and it looked less jarring.
I thought that's what it was. Was it all?
All the backgrounds are CG. If you look at them, they are terrible. It's rough, man. But the CG in this scene is pretty bad. It's basically on par with the rest of Chainsaw Man so far.
But also, I mean, this seems like some of the most high quality CG that they can get out in the industry right now.
Yeah.
Without spending like literal months on perfecting it.
Yeah.
Which is a really hard thing to do.
I will still stand by and say that Demon Slayer has some of the best CGI. Because, like, look at Mugen Train. Mugen Train's a train and it was handled perfectly. Now, granted, it didn't have like a city skyline around it.
But also
everything. Rice fields.
But also there, it's masked, right? It's drawn over again.
At least much better than it is in this one. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just a really hard thing to deal with here. Really, it's hard to say now if right now the Chainsaw Man manga or the Chainsaw Man anime is better based on what we've seen from this first season. Yeah. Right? It's very interesting and it's going to be a hard thing to really figure out until we have a complete adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the CG's not the best, and I think, in my opinion, it does detract from the spectacle of the fight. Because I personally was distracted by it, whereas I feel like people who care more about Chainsaw Man are probably more focused on the actual fighting going on.
Yeah.
But
well, you don't give a flying shit.
I don't give the most care to the series. Yes.
Yeah. So pretty much they're in the train, and Katana asks Shinji, "Hey, why do you fight?" Right? As they do some more stuff and eventually end up inside of the train. Inside of the train looked a bit better.
Yeah, it did.
Not like the outside, because you don't have your environments. You just got your windows, which you're going by, which is a different story in a way, right? And Katana is overpowering Denji some more, right? And eventually Denji flies over next to this woman who is on the ground, and Denji's like, "Ah, shit, you need to get out of here." As Katana comes by, uses his, like, I don't know, what you call it, a flash step, I guess?
Yeah.
To go by and just cuts Denji's arm off, right? And Denji's like, "God damn it, can we ban that move?"
So, I want to reference something. After he cuts off his arm again, which I'm sure you're about to get to, have you ever seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
No.
Have you ever seen the scene of the guy that says, "'Tis but a flesh wound"?
No.
I'll send it to you later. It's gotta be a reference to that. Because this guy just keeps getting his limbs chopped off and he keeps fighting in ridiculous ways. I'll send it to you. It's great.
Well, we gotta realize here, who is the author of this series? Tatsuki Fujimoto.
So the reference is probably on purpose.
What is his idea? He fucking likes movies and food. He really likes food. Have I ever shown you his Shonen Jump author comments?
You show me some of them, yeah.
They are all about, like, "Oh man, this new place opened up in Osaka. I can't wait to go get ice cream." While he's writing this series where a guy uses a chainsaw to murder somebody. Right? So pretty much we have a now armless Denji as his arms just keep getting cut off, right? And Katana's just like, "You better apologize now." And Denji's like, "Never." As he's like, "I can still fight. I've still got one chainsaw coming out of my head," right? And as he goes to attack Katana, they pretty much going at each other. And Denji arrives on the ground and his head chainsaw bursts into pieces, right? And Denji's like, "Thanks. You went for the head." As we see Katana just split in half. Blood and guts just dripping down the middle.
Oh, God
right?
forbid. He sends it a barf scene.
Yeah.
Continue.
As Denji now has a chainsaw leg. This was pretty cool. I think we all have to admit.
I still don't understand how he did this. So, like, he made the chainsaw leg, and as he was coming by, he sliced himself on it, basically.
Yeah, in the manga, it's pretty much shown that he conjures his chainsaw leg as he starts to move, and he just goes through a katana. Yes, he practically slices himself in half going through to Denji.
I feel like that could have been explained a little bit better with animation and showing him making it, and instead of just pulling it out of nowhere.
But also that would
fine.
sort of detract to the oh man, I just bested you, motherfucker, right? We cut outside now to where Katana is awake, and I don't know if you noticed this, but he is tied to the train with a chainsaw chain.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he's tied with a chainsaw chain, right? And Denji's here, and Denji's like, hey, you killed Helmeno, and that means there's one less hot woman in the world, right? And pretty much Samurai Sword and Katana's just like, what are you talking about? I don't care, right? And he's like, you know what? What am I going to do for you? I'm going to have a contest, right? And he's like, man, this contest is going to be a great one. I need somebody to participate. As Aki walks up, right? And pretty much Aki and Denji talk, and Denji's like, hey, I've got a great idea for a contest. We're going to do a shot for a shot. You shot Helmeno, we're going to do some nut shots, right? And Aki sort of kneels down, looks at this easy revenge cigarette, and he's like, well, and he's like, I don't know if I want to do it. But eventually he gets up and is like, all right, what's in if I win?
Yeah.
Right? And at this point, Denji makes a really good joke. His family jewels, of course. It's pretty good. Right? And at this time, the camera pans around as we sort of have a somber note playing everything. We see the entirety of the, operation's been wrapped up. We see Kobeni, we see Power. We see the Angel Devil looking up at the sun.
We see a beautiful shot with the Angel Devil. It looks really nice.
Yeah, and it's sort of like this finality of what has happened here, right? And it's a really good shot overall, right? And eventually we pan back to the nut shots going on, right? And Aki sort of makes this note of, Helmeno, can you hear this up in heaven?
Yeah.
Because it's a requiem from us to you.
Yep.
Right? This is a really good moment.
And also, if you notice, they use the exact same sound effect, steel ringing when they kick him in the balls.
Yes, they do. Right? This is one reason why I think Chainsaw Man is unparalleled in character writing.
Okay.
Right? This has development for all of the characters. We get a wrap up to Helmeno's story here, right? We get a wrap up to sort of this beginning stage story for Aki. We've got some more insight into Denji, right? This is just the one thing I like about Chainsaw Man the most, is this character writing and how it can be very poetic at times. Do you give a crap?
I mean, I can see how, I feel like some characters are developed very well, and then some characters just aren't.
Yeah.
But the ones that are, I think they're executed quite well.
Exactly.
So I can agree with that.
And that's why you need to be reading the second part of Chainsaw Man. Because there has been some great character development, I will tell you. Some A+ character development.
I may read it when it finishes serialization in a year or two.
No, I could see this part going on for a long time based on what's set up. But, so... yeah, there's the cough devil. Alright.
That probably exists.
Probably does. Well, that'd be a spoiler for the second part there, right? So, at this point, we go to Makima giving the explanation to the government, right? And she's pretty much, so the headmaster of this was Sachwari, right? She had a contract with the Gun Devil and got these Yakuza men guns, right? Before we could go and question her, she had the Snake Devil kill her, probably a suicide based from what happened with the Gun Devil.
Yeah.
Right? At this point, she says, and now we've got 1.4 kilos of gun flesh, right? And it's now moving towards the Gun Devil itself. And the episode cuts as one of the government members says, all right, so where's it headed? As we get this really nice build up into the ending.
And a very creepy shot of Makima, which once again, like we have said before, is really, really playing a certain theme.
Yeah. The ending is Fight Song by Eve.
This ending's really cool.
It is. To be honest, I've got to listen to the song more to form a good opinion on it, right? It's sort of one of those songs that you can't go into ready to be hyped. It's sort of like a more mellow song, but that's most of Eve stuff.
I think that the animation's amazing.
Yeah, it is, and I really love how this animation actually ties in.
Yeah, it ties into the.
But we'll get to that. So, what do you think of sort of this ending here? I think it really works. It sort of builds up a lot of hype of hey, this is a requiem from us to you. Then Makima's whole thing of, yeah, Gunflesh is now moving. And where? Find out.
Yeah, the Gunflesh moving is really the start of the bigger picture, which I think is a good, if that makes sense. And I think it's a good spot to end on.
Like I said, we're sort of looking at this more of a spoiler focus, not trying to do spoilers. Just so we get the ending, and I love this ending tie-in. So after the ending quits, we pan back to Aki's room and where everybody is in there. We see that Power and Ninja are all passed out in the same clothes they were passed out in.
If you didn't remember, the ending scene is just them basically doing a slice of life stuff for a minute.
Yeah, after this whole fight, right? We see Aki go outside, and he smokes some sweet revenge.
Yep.
Right? He smokes a cigarette, gets that done, right? And at this point, Denji sort of has a dream, right? And he makes this note of, I always have this dream. I don't know why, but I always forget it whenever I wake up. As we see this door, the door that we saw at the beginning of the series. And we see that a young Denji's in front of it. And we see Puchita, or we hear Puchita on the inside saying, hey Denji, don't open the door.
Yeah.
Denji, don't open the door. As we cut to this woman running through the city. And excuse me for my voice there. And she pretty much says, hey Denji, which mouse do you like more, the country or the city mouse? As we cut.
Yep, and here's like you hear a shop door opening. There we go.
Yes, as we'll come to understand later what the story is.
Yep.
So, this has been Chainsaw Man Season 1 completed. 12 episodes. So yeah, what did you think of this overall? Because I think I want to do another episode talking about everything that we've seen here again, right? I'm personally going to watch the entire series over again in dub to get a more formulated opinion, not having to do it week to week and not taking notes in between each take. And if you want to join me for that episode, you're fine too.
Alright.
Right? Sort of just talk about our final thoughts of what this series entailed and going into spoilers for the entire season and maybe future stuff.
So as you all guys already know, I don't like Chainsaw Man that much, but I think the adaptation was handled pretty well.
Oh yeah, it was.
I grew to like the animation style a lot more. I think it looks really good when it's 2D animated. Like, Mappa's 2D animation's pretty freaking good.
And their hand-to-hand combat scenes.
Yeah, like we've seen with Kishibe, that looked really good. And besides that, I think that the soundtrack was well handled.
Oh, soundtrack was very well handled.
I feel like
I think there was a moment in this episode, whenever there was the whole, hey, you're making a minor Smoke Himeno stuff, where soundtrack was really on point.
I think they could have used a little more more variation and more songs and whatnot, but it's fine.
It works.
I use all my music for D&D playlists, so I just look for ones that would fit in that. But besides that, I think that the sound design's great. The voice acting's pretty good. Denji's not my favorite in terms of a main lead voice actor, but all the other ones fit pretty well. I've grown to like Makima's voice actor. And the CG is unfortunate.
But it's what else could you do in the situation?
I mean, unless we wanted to wait another year for a really good animation, is what we're going to get.
Yep. Alrighty then, with that,
so
I'd
overall,
say we're done.
Well, would you agree with most of those points, Corbin?
Yeah, I would. So, I like Chainsaw Man. I would give this a higher score than you obviously will. Personally, I think Chainsaw Man gets a lot better here with what will be shown in the next season onward, and I think you can agree with that too. At least the fights and things get more interesting.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'd give this episode an overall 5 out of 10. It was average.
Series.
Overall animation as a whole?
So what we see in these 12 episodes?
6 or 7. It doesn't degrade too far. I think the beginning of Chainsaw Man up to the barf kiss is really, really good. And then it just kind of spirals into madness for me.
I generally like this. I'd give it a 7. Just because it's not peaked, but it's pretty good.
Alright.
That, I'd say we're done. Hey, the winter season's starting next. What are we going to watch here? It's Glowplasma231 out.